In the previous video, we covered setting up the Postman collection and making a request to the products API. In this video, we're going to cover how to add an item to a user's cart and return the profile ID of a user using the OAuth2 authorization code grant type. To begin, we're going to want to make sure we have the appropriate scopes in our environment. So we're going to come up here to the environment. We're going to select the production environment. And we can see here that currently we just have the product.compact scope. So to get started, we're going to jump back over to our registration details PDF, and we're going to go to our permissions. And we can see that in order to make a request to the cart API, we need to get the cart.basic_write scope. So we can copy that, jump back over to Postman, and we're going to want to add a space and then paste in the scope. And then as well, we're going to make a request to the profile endpoint. So we're going to want to get the profile.compact scope. And then again, we're going to want to add a space and paste that in. And we're going to leave the product.compact scope in here. So we can see now that we can make a request to the products API, the cart API, or the profile API. However, if we wanted to make this same request to the product API using the client credentials grant type, the request would fail. We would not be able to get a token because we still have the cart and profile compact scope in there, which are not supported by the client credentials grant type. So with that, we're going to update the collection and close. And now we're going to open up the cart API and select the put add to cart. Next, the first thing we're going to do is set up our authorization. And so we're going to want to make sure that the type is OAuth2. And then, as in the last video, we're going to use the get new access token. First thing we're going to want to do is make sure that we have the authorization code grant type selected. And then we're going to want to make sure that the client authentication is sent as basic auth header. Then we can request the token. Next, we're going to be redirected to the sign-in screen. And this is the sign-in screen that the user is going to see when they're using your application. So in this case, they would sign in with their credentials. However, for this video, we are going to use our test credentials. When you're testing, there's going to be a couple different ways you can do this. First, you can sign in with your personal Kroger account if you'd like, or you can go to Kroger.com and create an account for the purpose of testing. However, if you're using the certification environment, you'll not be able to create an account, so you will not be able to authenticate using the authorization code flow. So you won't be able to use the identity or cart API if you're signed up for the certification environment. So to get started, I'm going to put in my test credentials. Once I put in my test credentials, I'm going to select sign in. Once you've signed in, you'll be redirected to the authorization screen, and we're going to see here that the application is asking for access to product information, update the cart, and the profile information. And the consent here is going to be based off of the scopes that you passed in. And so we're going to scroll down and we're going to select authorize. And now we can see that we have a valid access token. So we're going to want to use this token. Now that we have the authorization, we're going to jump over to the body of the request. And we're going to need to fill in the items array. And so the first thing we're going to want to do is provide a quantity. So for this, we can just put in 1. Then we're going to want to put in the UPC. So for this, we can go back over to our product list endpoint, and we still have our results for Kroger 2% reduced fat milk. So we're just going to grab this UPC, and we'll copy that. And we're going to put that in for the UPC. Now that we have that filled out, we can jump over to Kroger.com, and I'm signed into the test account here, and we can see that currently we have an empty cart. So we'll jump back over to Postman, and we have our authorization set and our body. So we're ready to send the request. You can see that we have a 204, And now if we hop back over to Kroger and refresh our screen, we can now see that the item has been added to the cart. We have the Kroger 2% reduced fat milk. So now that we've added an item to a cart, we're going to jump back over to Postman. And next we're going to use the Identity API. And we are going to return our user profile information. And under Authorization, we can actually use the available token. However, for the video, we're going to get the token again by requesting the token. And we're going to, once again, sign into our test account. Once we've put in our credentials, we will sign in. Now we'll notice this time that we were given an access token without the consent screen, and that's because once the customer has given your application consent, they will not be asked again as long as the token is valid. And for this request, we don't have any parameters or body, so we're just going to send the request. And now we can see that we've returned the information, and we can see that we have the profile ID of the authenticated customer. In this case, it's the test account. With that, we've now added an item to a customer's cart and returned the profile information of a customer using the OAuth2 authorization code grant type.